Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever walked into a room and felt the tension before anyone spoke? Have you ever sensed a lie behind a smile or felt the heaviness in someone's silence? Have you ever known something was wrong without anyone saying a word? If so, this message is for you. Because today we're not talking about the loud, the bold, or the attention seekers. We're talking about the intuitive introverts, the quiet souls with powerful minds, the deep feelers who carry storms behind calm eyes. The ones who suffer, not because they are weak, but because they see and feel too much in a world that values too little. In a society that rewards noise, they offer wisdom. In a world addicted to performance, they live in truth. But that truth comes with a cost. You see, being an intuitive introvert isn't just about being quiet or shy. It's about being deeply tuned in. It's about absorbing energy, sensing dishonesty, recognizing pain no one else sees, and silently carrying all of it without recognition, without relief. This video is not just a motivation, it's a mirror for the ones who have been misunderstood, overlooked, and underestimated. The ones who have been told to lighten up, stop overthinking, or be more outgoing. But not today. Today we're flipping the script. Today we shine a light on the power that hides behind your stillness. Because once you understand why you suffer, you'll understand the incredible strength that lives inside you. Let's begin. The hidden depths of intuitive introverts. Let's talk about the people who often go unnoticed, the ones who sit quietly in the back of the room but observe everything. The ones who don't say much, but when they do, their words pierce through illusions. These are the intuitive introverts, a rare type of soul in a world too loud, too fast, and too shallow. They are the quiet ones with minds that never sleep. They live deeply, feel intensely, and think in layers far beneath the surface. While most people react to what's visible, intuitive introverts react to what's invisible. They sense moods, energy shifts, and hidden emotions with uncanny precision. It's like having a sixth sense, always tuned in, even when they wish it weren't. Imagine walking into a room and instantly picking up on someone's sadness, even though they're smiling, or feeling tension in the air before a conflict erupts, or knowing someone's lying even though their words sound perfect. This is everyday reality for intuitive introverts. It's not guesswork. It's internal radar. They don't need evidence to feel the truth, they just know. And that's a beautiful gift, but also a heavy burden. Because this depth of awareness isolates them. They often struggle to explain what they feel. The people don't understand how they just know things, and that misunderstanding becomes a source of suffering. They're accused of overthinking, being too sensitive, or imagining things, but they're not imagining. It's just that their perception reaches farther than most can comprehend. And so they suffer not because they're weak, but because their soul lives in a world most people never see. They notice the fake smiles, the subtle manipulation, the cracks behind the polished masks. They question everything, including themselves, and they often wonder, why do I feel so much? Why does this world exhaust me? The answer is simple. You're not crazy. You're conscious. The modern world is designed for speed, performance, and surface-level success. But intuitive introverts are wired for stillness, reflection, and depth. They want meaningful conversations, not small talk. Authenticity, not attention. Connection, not crowds. But in a society that values noise over nuance, their presence becomes misunderstood. They aren't antisocial. They aren't shy in the way people think. They're simply selective. They feel safe in their solitude. Because the world outside often feels too chaotic, too draining. And while others may crave popularity, intuitive introverts crave peace. But here's the powerful truth. If you feel this way, if you feel everything deeply, think endlessly, and live quietly, you are not broken. You are rare. And that rarity isn't your weakness, it's your strength waiting to be understood. A world that rewards noise, not insight. Why do intuitive introverts suffer the most? Because we live in a world that rewards performance, not perception. Loudness is mistaken for leadership. Quick wit is mistaken for intelligence. Boldness is mistaken for confidence. And in the midst of all this noise, the quiet wisdom of an intuitive introvert goes unnoticed, dismissed, ignored, or even misunderstood. Society celebrates extroversion. From school classrooms to corporate meetings, the people who raise their hands the fastest, speak the most confidently, and dominate the room are seen as the most valuable. Meanwhile, the intuitive introvert, the one who is quietly analyzing, deeply understanding, silently reflecting, is seen as too quiet, too shy, or not engaged enough. But the truth is, the mind is often 3 steps ahead. They don't blurt out the first thought that enters their head. They wait, they process, they think. They don't speak to impress, they speak when it matters. But in a world that mistakes noise for value, their silence is misunderstood as a lack of contribution, when in reality, it is the mark of deep internal power. This creates a painful gap. A world where shallow charisma is praised while quiet wisdom is ignored. A world where speaking louder gets you further than understanding deeper. And that is the very environment that makes intuitive introverts feel like outsiders in their own lives. It's not that they can't shine, it's that the stage isn't built for them. They are not performers, they are perceivers. While others chase applause, they seek meaning. And while others broadcast opinions, they silently notice the truth beneath it all. And that quiet clarity, it often intimidates people. People can sense when someone sees through them. They feel uncomfortable around someone who doesn't fall for facades or small talk. That discomfort often turns into subtle rejection. Intuitive introverts aren't rejected because they lack value. They're rejected because they hold too much value that others can't understand or control. It's a lonely path, being the one who feels what no one else is noticing. It's like living in high definition when everyone else is stuck in static. You see the manipulation in conversations. You sense the unspoken hurt in someone's voice. You feel the tension in relationships long before anyone admits it. But here's the worst part, because intuitive introverts don't shout their truth. Their truth gets buried. They get told they're overthinking, that they're imagining things, that they need to relax or lighten up. And this emotional gaslighting chips away at their confidence. But let me remind you, you're not crazy. You're tuned in. The world may not see your brilliance right away, but that doesn't make it any less real. You weren't born to follow the noise. You were born to sense the truth, carry wisdom, and light the way. Quietly, powerfully, and with purpose. Emotional absorption and energetic burnout. One of the most painful struggles intuitive introverts face is something few people understand. Emotional absorption. You see, intuitive introverts don't just pick up on what people feel, they absorb it. They soak in energy like sponges, often without even realizing it. They walk into a room and suddenly feel sadness, anxiety, or irritation that doesn't belong to them. They listen to a friend vent and carry that pain long after the conversation ends. They hear someone's frustration and take it on as their own. It's not a choice, it's the way they're wired. Their emotional boundaries are thin, their hearts are wide open, and their intuition acts like a radar, constantly picking up signals from the people around them, spoken and unspoken. Over time, this becomes exhausting. They find themselves emotionally drained without doing anything wrong. Just being around chaos, conflict, or negativity can deplete them for days. Crowded places, small talk, and emotionally heavy environments take a toll that others can see. They may appear calm on the outside, but inside they're carrying the emotional weight of everyone they've encountered. This is why many intuitive introverts crave solitude. It's not about isolation, it's about recovery. They need time alone to cleanse, to reset, to breathe freely again. In silence they can hear their own emotions, separate from the noise they've picked up. But the world doesn't make space for that. People expect them to always be available, always listening, always understanding. And because intuitive introverts are naturally empathetic, they give and give and give. They become emotional caretakers, often without consent. People open up to them easily. Friends, co-workers, even strangers feel safe spilling their secrets to them. And while that may seem like a compliment, it becomes a burden when no one asks how they're doing. They become everyone's safe space, but have no space of their own. And this imbalance leads to emotional burnout. It's not just tiredness. It's a soul-level exhaustion that feels like numbness, withdrawal, and sometimes even depression. It's the cost of always giving and rarely receiving, of feeling everything and having nowhere to release it. What makes it even harder is that intuitive introverts often suffer silently. They don't want to burden others with their feelings. They don't want to be seen as weak or dramatic, so they hide their pain. They smile while drowning. They keep showing up even when they're running on empty. But let this be your reminder. You are not responsible for healing everyone. You can be kind without being a sponge. You can be compassionate without losing yourself. And most importantly, you can set boundaries without guilt. You deserve rest. You deserve to protect your peace. And you deserve to pour into yourself as much as you pour into others. Your empathy is powerful, but it must be directed inward too. The curse of being too aware. For most people, awareness is a blessing, but for intuitive introverts, it can often feel like a curse. Why? Because they don't just see what's happening, they see through it. They notice the small cracks in someone's voice when they say, "I'm fine." They recognize fake compliments, veiled insults, and emotional manipulation even when it's wrapped in charm. They pick up on the micro expressions, the shifts in tone, the silent pauses loaded with meaning. To most people, it's just a moment. To an intuitive introvert, it's a whole story. This level of awareness is not just a skill, it's a way of life. They live in a state of constant perception. Their minds are wired to analyze and reflect. And while this allows them to avoid deception and understand people deeply, it also creates a constant internal pressure. Because once you see, you can't unsee. And else where the suffering begins. They notice the truth, but often can't say it out loud, because speaking the truth makes people uncomfortable. It threatens egos. It disrupts the illusions people build around themselves. So intuitive introverts keep quiet, not because they're afraid, but because they know most people aren't ready to hear what they already know. But silence becomes suffocating. They're burdened with unspoken truths and suppressed observations. They walk around with eyes wide open in a world that insists on keeping them closed. This is why they often feel like outsiders, not because they're socially awkward, but because they're spiritually awake in a world that's emotionally asleep. And it gets worse when their awareness makes others uncomfortable. People start pulling away. They say things like, "You're too deep," or "You think too much," or "Why can't you just relax?" But what they really mean is, "Why can't you stop seeing the truth I'm trying to hide?" This rejection, subtle or overt, cuts deep. Intuitive introverts begin to question themselves. They wonder if they're broken, if they're too intense, too sensitive, too serious. But what's really happening is this. They're living in a world that doesn't match their frequency. They crave depth in a shallow culture. They seek connection in a world addicted to distraction. They value honesty, but are surrounded by performance. And every day, they feel the tension of being too aware in a world that prefers ignorance. This emotional dissonance leads to inner turmoil. They feel disconnected, not just from people, but from belonging. They're surrounded yet isolated, heard but not understood. But here's the truth. You are not too much. You are not too deep. You are not too sensitive. You are just too awake for people still dreaming. And while that may make life harder now, it's also what makes you powerful. You were given this awareness for a reason, not to suffer, but to lead. Quietly, authentically, bold. Don't dim your perception to make others comfortable. Stand tall in your truth, even if you stand alone. The strength beneath the stillness. Here's what no one tells you about intuitive introverts. Behind that calm exterior lies an inner world of extraordinary power. Yes, you feel deeply. Yes, you suffer quietly. Yes, you carry burdens that no one sees. But in that stillness, beneath the pain, beneath the sensitivity, is strength. Most people will never understand. The world looks at you and sees someone reserved, someone quiet, someone who maybe doesn't speak up enough. But they don't see what's happening behind your eyes. They don't see the way you analyze everything, connect dots others miss, or pick up on energy shifts without a word being spoken. They don't realize that silence is not emptiness, it's preparation, reflection, strategy, wisdom. You're not weak for needing space. You're not broken for preferring solitude. You're not soft for being sensitive. In fact, it takes an extraordinary kind of strength to walk through a world that overwhelms your senses and still show up every day. While others chase attention, you chase truth. While others react, you reflect. While others speak to be heard, you speak to be understood. And that's rare. That's powerful. But because your strength doesn't look like what the world is used to, because it isn't loud, aggressive, or showy, it's often underestimated. People mistake your gentleness for weakness, your calmness for passivity, your empathy for fragility. They have no idea that it takes incredible resilience to feel everything deeply and still choose to love, forgive, and move forward. You're the one people turn to when they're lost, broken, or confused, because you have insight that others don't. You just know things. You give guidance not from ego, but from intuition. Your wisdom isn't learned from books, it's downloaded from experience, emotion, and energy. You were never meant to follow the crowd. You were meant to guide the crowd, silently, steadily, with conviction. But here's the challenge. Your light will often be ignored until the darkness hits. People won't always see your value until they feel lost. You won't be the first person they run to in celebration, but you'd be the one they need when the illusion falls apart. And that's okay, because your worth doesn't decrease just because others can't recognize it yet. Your stillness is strength. Your sensitivity is a gift. And your insight is a force that can change lives, even if it happens in the background. So stop trying to prove yourself in places that aren't built for people like you. Stop shrinking to fit environments that drain your spirit. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to stand, deeply rooted in your truth, even if no one applauds you for it. Let others race, let others shout, let others perform. You stay grounded, stay deep, stay powerful in your own quiet, brilliant way. Rise in your quiet power. So if you're intuitive, introvert, if you've ever felt like you don't belong, like you're too quiet, too sensitive, too aware, this is your moment of truth. You are not broken. You are built differently. You were not made for the noise of the world. You were made for its healing. You weren't created to fit in with the crowd. You were created to see through it, to notice what others miss, to feel what others avoid, to speak only when the words matter. And yes, that makes your path more difficult. Yes, it often means walking alone, but it also means your journey is more meaningful, more purposeful, more real. The world may never fully understand you, and that's okay. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to live in alignment with your truth. And the more you embrace who you are, the more you attract what truly belongs to you. Start protecting your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Not everyone deserves your presence. Not everyone should have access to your heart. You don't owe anyone explanations for your solitude, your silence, or your sensitivity. You don't need to speak louder. You don't need to be more social. You don't need to change who you are. You need to honor who you are. You are powerful beyond measure, not because of how much you say or how loudly you shine, but because of how deeply you see. You are a lighthouse in a storm, a sanctuary in a chaotic world, a mirror that reflects truth to people too afraid to face their own. And the best part? You don't need permission to stand in that power. You don't need validation to walk your path. You don't need a spotlight to shine. You shine from within. Let them misunderstand you. Let them call you too quiet, too strange, too deep. Let them walk away when your energy becomes too real for their comfort. Because one day, when the noise fades and the masks fall, they will remember you. They will remember the way you listened without judgment. The way you saw through the pain they tried to hide. The way your silence spoke louder than any noise ever could. And you'll be at peace, Not because life was easy, but because you stayed true to yourself in a world that tried to pull you in every direction. So rise. Rise in your quiet power. Rise with stillness, with strength, with soul. We are not here to conform. You are here to transform by simply being exactly who you are. Now that you've walked through the heart of what it means to be an intuitive introvert, the depth, the pain, the strength, and the silence, you may finally see yourself clearly for the first time in a long time. You're not weak for feeling everything so deeply. You're not strange for noticing what others ignore. You're not broken because you prefer solitude over noise, truth over popularity, or peace over attention. You are a rare soul in a world that often doesn't recognize rare things until they're gone. For too long, you've carried the invisible weight of the world. You've absorbed emotions that weren't yours. You've stayed silent in rooms where your soul was screaming. You've been the strong one behind the scenes, the healer, the listener, the observer, and you've done it all while being overlooked by people who never took the time to understand the power you carry inside. But here's what you must remember. Your depth is not a flaw. Your intuition is not a burden. Your stillness is not emptiness. You have been gifted with a higher sensitivity, a clearer vision, and a more powerful connection to the unseen. Yes, that makes life harder at times, but it also makes you stronger. Then you know. You don't need to compete for attention when you command energy just by being real. You don't need to shout to be heard when your presence already speaks volumes. You don't need to become someone else to be accepted. You only need to become more of who you already are. Let the world misunderstand you, let it label you, let it rush past you. Because while others are chasing noise, you are anchoring in purpose. While they're performing, you are perceiving. And while they're burning out, you are learning how to protect your peace. From this moment forward, promise yourself this. You will no longer shrink to make others comfortable. You will no longer apologize for your quietness, your depth, or your truth. You will no longer carry emotions that don't belong to you. You are allowed to create space. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to honor your energy above all else. The world doesn't need you to be louder. It needs you to be realer. And the moment you start honoring your intuitive power instead of hiding it, everything will begin to change. People will feel your presence, even if they don't understand it. They'll trust your wisdom, even if they can't explain why. And most importantly, you will feel whole again, because you'll finally be living as your authentic self. So walk boldly in your quiet power, stand tall in your unseen strength, and never forget, you don't have to be loud to be legendary. You also have to be true.